Yeah.
Got a cat everywhere.
For me, over the weekend, we watched the 2 seasons of Severance, and we're planning on queuing up Silo, I think, next.
Perfect.
I think I've also convinced my wife to watch season 2 of Ancient Apocalypse with me. So that's
I never heard of that.
It's a documentary series going around looking at megalithic sites.
Oh,
and
cool.
It's a bit like a history lesson, but it's like all the history that you're not getting in history books because it's, quote, fringe archaeology.
Good.
But it's going after all the data that everybody else is ignoring. So
that's cool.
That's the guy, Graham Hancock, that I've been sort of studying for the last 15 years now, maybe. Or just reading all of his books and following his blog and what he's up to.
Oh, fun. What's it on?
That'll be fun. We'll come back and talk about Netflix.
Netflix has got it all.
Yep. That came up because the whole thing with the pyramids, I don't know if you've seen any of the new headlines coming out about the pyramids. So they had some satellites running overhead, and these guys, I think, are bridge engineers, and their job is to like scan, I think, for bridges to see how there might be like anomalies underground that could cause for weaknesses in the bridges and where to shore them up and support them. And so as they were flying over the Giza Plateau, they were scanning just everything, and they found like this massive like pockets and holes or something deep below the pyramids. And so they went back and they restudied it, and they were like, guys, we're not going to tell you what is there. We're just going to give you the data of what it's there. Basically, under each pyramid are 4 pillars that run down vertically 1 mile.
Whoa.
No, it's 1 kilometer. And each one is encircled by like some sort of a spiral thing. Whether they're filled or hollow, I don't know.
Gotcha.
But every pyramid has 4 of them going straight down for about 1 kilometer, ending in a massive chamber. And then over on another area, like there's one that goes straight down under the Sphinx. And then there's a whole cluster of them that are much thinner going straight down under. There's a cluster of tombs areas a little way off to the side. And then this extends way out, away from the Giza Plateau, under the sort of trash heaps, I think, of a local village, or the village that's right next to it.
Yeah.
I think there's trash heaps or demolished village stuff there. And so this information came out about 6 months ago, and then I recently saw a new video going like, whatever we thought this was
is totally different.
We don't.
Yeah.
And this is not a matter of, well, opinion, and it could be conspiracy and whatever. It's like, this is satellite-based.
Is it like, what is it, LiDAR? Is it? How do they get that? I don't understand that. Like, how do they get, which is, doesn't matter, but it's just the fact that these pyramids have continued to enamor the world, and now, like, how is that even possible that we never knew about this until today? And how old are these? They're like 6,000 years old?
Well, if you go by conventional history, they would say stuff like that, 4,000, 6,000 years old.
Okay.
If you go by the dating that stuff people like Graham Hancock or Robert Bauval would provide, it's easily 10 to 12,000 years old.
Wow.
And so these guys were looking at, I don't know how they reached this figure, which is why I'm so interested in this, but they were like, if you look at those elements that are underneath the pyramids, they're like 30,000.
Oh my gosh.
So there's a scale of human history that doesn't fit.
It just shocks to know, even so, if it's younger, 6,000, it's still impressive. But the fact that it could be 30,000 years, and we're just now scratching another surface of a layer that we've never, like, it just makes it. And you think, I was watching a documentary still about, what's it called? A team went down to the deepest part of the ocean in a new submersible. It was
really?
Yeah, and it's just saying like how much of the ocean we have not yet explored and don't even know about. I don't know. It's just so cool to think that there's still, when you think, we've talked about this, I think 3 episodes ago, or I don't know how many episodes, how like when you look at a map, it looks like the whole world's been discovered, like, and there's nothing left to explore. But then you have this instances like this, you know, like even the parts that we have explored are not fully known, and there's still areas that we still don't know. In like the undersea, you know, world. That's why I think that's why I was so entranced with 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
New series on that, by the way.
Oh,
have you
really?
seen it?
No.
Yeah. It looks like it could be cool. It's called Nautilus. Just landed, I think, this past week. I'm planning to check it out and queue it up. It looks
definitely do
nicely
that.
done.
Because
I grew up watching that Disney one over and over.
With what's his name? Something Douglas.
Kirk Douglas.
Kirk Douglas. Yeah. Yeah, just the fact that there could be Atlantis, I don't know why those always, you know, enchanted me. But yeah, the pyramids.
How would they under the earth? Did you ever watch that?
Yes.
Also,
yeah, anything like that. Yeah. There's something about, and the fact that, man, there's columns and pillars or something that goes down
So
on
they're
the
like,
four corners.
it's like, I think it's 20 feet across.
Was like a
Each of them
stairwell.
is like 20 feet across. That's what it seems like. It almost seems like a, what do you call it? Like a missile, nuclear missile sort of tube. Kind of like that. I don't know if it's hollow or filled. And then there's like a spiral,
something
almost perfectly spiral, like a staircase.
Interesting.
Running around the outside of the thing.
Man, the plot
So
thickens.
what it is, they're not providing any.
No.
They're not giving any answers. They don't want to get on anybody's, bad sides.
I feel like because then you have like there's different groups. Like I don't know why when you said that made me think of the Ark of the Covenant, right? There's a church in Ethiopia that claims to be the ones who guard it and protect it. So whoever, maybe this is more story minded, but like, is there a certain group or around that's protecting the pyramids that they own it, quote unquote, or is it just like the country?
Best of my knowledge, country of Egypt does. There's I just don't know enough.
Yeah.
I know the guy's name is Zahi Hawass, is the
It's a fun
foremost Egyptologist.
Oh, wow.
And I think that he's pretty adamant to retain,
to keep it an Egyptian thing,
keep it safe and keep it an Egyptian history thing. Whereas there are all kinds of, other groups with other narratives coming in and trying to take it away from Egyptian history and sort of go, oh, well, maybe ancient aliens did it, or it was an ancient civilization before the Egyptians. And there's a point at which I think, however much nostalgia you have over a thing, you also have to just sit in humility before the data.
Yeah.
Even if that means changing your narrative.
Yeah. This is interesting. Did this discovery come out before or after the Fountain of Youth? Because it's so similar that well,
that's the thing. I mean, I think that they released it 6 months ago. In November, they're coming out and planning to release more details once they've had more time.
Crazy.
But just this past week, they sat down for like an hour, 2-hour interview recapping the latest updates.
Crazy. That's the thing, though.
Fountain of Youth came out, was being worked on before.
They knew. Someone knew. The director knew.
Somebody.
I don't know. There's something about that's so crazy, and I would love to know what they find and what comes of it. But me personally, I don't think do you ever watch like cave diving videos and spelunking? And like, I don't like the idea of doing that personally. It gives me like the heebie-jeebies and like my palms sweat. There's this one place. It's called, I think it's called like Doorway to Hell or like the Hell Hole or something. And you can't be. There's a certain that somebody put on the outside like a little like wooden square slat, and if you can't fit through it, you can't go. Don't go into the hole because you'll get stuck. And there's a part like
it's like Steve Irwin going, "Look at this! If you go in there, you're gonna die. Let me go in there."
Like, sweet, let's go. And there was a certain part I was watching this kid do it. I think they've since like sealed the hole so no one does it anymore because I think somebody died. But there's a one part you're going down and you can't start hyperventilating or breathe too deeply because your chest will inflate too much. And I'm like, the fact that that's like a requirement, I'm out. Like the fact that it's like up to me to keep my calm that I would.
Yeah.
So anything like
I can't handle that.
Like I give it to people who are these explorers and archaeologists who do have to go down into these places. But man, just crazy.
There's a book I read called Underland by Robert McFarlane, and he made a point, I think, that more people struggle with claustrophobia than they do with vertigo.
Oh.
So if you can like share the feelings of like claustrophobia through a book, like he said, the number of people who could not read past a specific point in his book where he describes he went through that experience you just described.
Goodness.
Quite possibly at that location. I don't know.
Maybe.
But he went through like, there's caves and there's people who do these things under Paris, right?
Oh, wow.
And there's the subway running like 3 feet overhead, and you're like crawling through a thin crack and you can't hyperventilate. And it's like,
no,
people couldn't get past that part in the book. They come in and tell him.
Yeah. Like I'm getting sweaty and pass out.
Nope. But on the flip side, have you ever heard of things like, I think they're in Ukraine or Poland. Now I don't remember where they are, but they're like these massive salt mines that are so huge. People have weddings in there. They're absolutely massive. Like they've been mined ever since the Middle Ages for the last 1,000 years. These things it's like visiting Moria. It looks like Khazad-dûm. It's so huge.
That's cool.
And it's well lit and it's now a tourist attraction.
That's fine. I'll breathe in there. I've also seen like the pink salt. Is it the pink salt mines? I saw it was one. It was a pink salt mine, and like down under it was so used that actually there's like a post office down there, like all made out of pink Himalayan salt. Himalayas. And that would go fine. Like, and then there's a cavern in upstate New York they went to. You drive up, there's a nice big entrance in, you go down and take a river boat ride through it, and it's really cool. Like, that is fine. It's when it's up to me. And like, there's parts, like, I know there's some caves where you have to go underwater for a bit to get to the next, like, you have to go down and up. I'm like, not into that. I don't know. The risk is not
used to do the dumbest stuff because we're kids, and why not?
Yeah.
When we had a backyard pool in Australia, it was like in ground with like a brick rim, and when we weren't using the pool, it would be covered with a big tarp, like blue bubble plastic.
Oh yeah.
The rules are very simple. Do not go in the pool when the tarp is on. Do not run across the tarp.
Which means go
what do you think we did?
Yeah, run across the tarp whenever you get a chance.
It was so
so
dumb and dangerous. You get to about the middle, and if you're not,
you just get wrapped up.
It just collapses around you and stuff. Or if you're underneath, like, we would literally poke it up to try to create like air paths, or you would swim under, try to grab the air path until the air turns hot and knifes into your lungs because it's no longer oxygen. Leave it for the next guy.
All set, you go. My cousins had a pool, and we used to do the same thing. And we pretend it was like ice. And so you had to kind of like walk across it or go underneath it. Yeah, so terrible.
I'm trying to remember what movies I watched as a kid where people are trying to breathe under ice. I can't remember. It's like Balto comes to mind, but I don't know.
I used to have a dream for the longest time that I would be on a bridge over a river covered with ice, and I'd fall through it, and the current would keep. So the ice hole I fell through, I couldn't get up. I had that for a good amount of time, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. But yeah, always think about that.
Gosh.
Anywho,
so there you go. Have you watched Severance at all?
Trauma. No, I have not. But I want to. We have it's on Apple TV, right?
Yeah, that's right.
We just got it when we got Silo, so now, which we could talk about today. I'm starting this new kind of thing of like in the morning watching things. So I've been watching things in the morning. Started with K-pop, and then then I watched another movie, and then I watched another movie. So I've been doing that every morning.
Talk about it. What are the movies you're watching?
Okay, I just don't share. So our daughter's been waking up at like 5:30. So I've been up, and then I just go downstairs. I'm like, well, might as well. I'm up, and all the other kids get up at 7. So got like an hour and a half to start or finish a movie. So I started with what was it? So I watched K-pop Demon Hunters, which was so fun, and great movie, great music, love it. And apparently it's cool to see like the world's also like enraptured by it. That's always fun. Then I watched Wolves with Brad Pitt and George Clooney. I just finished that this morning. I started it. You ever see like in a movie, like they have like a cleanup guy, like after a murder or after a crime or something, you call on these guys to fix all the problems. It's not just to like get rid of a body. It's like, we have a huge mess, fix it and make no one know of it. And that's it. So the premise is George Clooney's called in to fix this problem. And then at the same problem, Brad Pitt's called in, and they're both you're called a wolf. It's like you're supposed to be alone. No one's supposed to know about you. You're not supposed to have any interaction.
Is that a new movie? I've never heard of this.
Probably like 2023, I think it was.
Okay.
But it's a 2024. It's a funny movie though. It's like it's like a not dark comedy, but there's like little funny moments, and it's actually good. It kind of rolls along, and I had a really good time with it. It's mostly just them two, plus a third character. And just having them, like, they're not supposed to know each other, and they're not supposed to work together, and they're not supposed to be together, but they end up having to work together. So it's going to become wolves. And it ends really cool. Like, it kind of like, it was funny. The movie, and I'm not going to spoil anything, it gets to a point where like, okay, yep, it's over. And you're kind of like, whatever. And then it kind of all, in the last 5 minutes, does like a 180 and then does a different like little like ending. So it was a very fun, like, I haven't seen that in a while. Like a movie that just, it was all enjoyable. Nothing major. Like it wasn't like a hit, but very enjoyable. And the last 5 minutes, it kind of does a little like flip. And you're like, oh, that was fun. I'm glad they did that.
Oh, cool.
And then I watched, which was really fun. It was a Wes Anderson short movie. Oh gosh, that's why it's The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. Did you ever hear of that?
Okay. I think I've heard of it. I don't know really anything about Wes Anderson apart from a distinctive filming style.
Yeah. So the book by Roald Dahl, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. So he wrote a book about this thing. And Wes Anderson made, it's essentially just the book, a visual of the book. So like it's like the narrator is like going on the whole time, and like you just watch it. It's 40 minutes. It's very fun. But the fun part is, so it's about this guy who reads about this, Indian guru. I forget if it's, I think it's Indian, who learns how to see without his eyes. And the whole story is, it's a fiction story. It's about this yogi who, was a traveling circus act, and he could do all these things and not see. And he, through meditation, learned how to see without his eyes. And then this guy, Henry Sugar, learns about it, puts into practice, and becomes learns how to put into practice with blackjack, seeing cards without looking at them, seeing from the backs.
Okay.
But it turns out, so the whole story is fake, obviously. Or not obviously. The whole story is fake. But it turns out the yogi is based off of a real person, though, who actually did this. Yeah. Which is so fascinating.
To see through closed
just
eyes? Himself.
He didn't teach anybody. He just did it himself. Okay. And it's like, it's a thing that still no one knows to this day how he did it. It was always just construed as like a circus act, or an illusion. Yeah. But no one actually knows how he did it, because he would actually go to a doctor, have him in the best practice possible, like seal his eyes shut. So they would tape him shut or glue him shut, then put dough over them, then fully wrap his head. And then he would still be able to ride a bike and go through and do things. And like, so it was like,
you don't know the weirdest thing about this.
Very cool.
A couple years back, there's a series on Prime I watched. I think it was called Superhumans. I don't remember. But I remember the one episode where there's a school that was training kids who maybe were specifically adept for it, or they were training them how to do it. And they showed the footage of these kids wearing like black, eye masks. And they're all standing in circles outside, tossing balls to each other and playing games together. But without the use of their
seeing
act, they're using the ability to see in a way that bypasses your eyes.
See, that's just there's like instances like that. Like I remember, like I listened to this podcast like so many years ago about like the USSR, the Soviets were looking into doing that, and there's like this guy that they were working with, I forget his name, and he was able to do that with a 60% success rate. So
you mean like remote viewing?
Remote viewing. And he was able to do it just above chance, right? 50%, above 50% is, whatever. So he did it 60% accuracy. But then you have this guy, his name is Kuda Bucks. At least that's what he went by. That was his like stage name. And he would, with his eyes blindfolded, shoot cans off of kids' heads with a BB gun, which of course is such like a 1930s thing that they would allow that.
William Tell.
And then he would also be able to read the fine print of a magazine, thread a needle while covered in a wine barrel. And then he would just like do all these tricks, and no one ever knows how he did it. He died, and that's the end of it. It's like either he was just a really, really, really good magician, illusionist, stageman, or he wasn't. Like he was more like, which is always fun to think about. Yeah, he did it for 70 years and then just is now gone. But anyways, so yeah, fun morning routine, watching movies and stuff. But that was a really cool one. It was a fun story. I like Wes Anderson. It's like an old timey storybook in like Dollhouse. That's how that's like the feel of watching a movie of his.
Okay.
They're not all great. I have not liked all Wes Anderson movies that I've seen, but that one was very enjoyable. It was short too, 40 minutes. It was just, it's like a nice like show. But now I'm starting to rack up. I'm like, okay, let me get a list, because I'm gonna watch movies in the morning, and I'll start them, and then I'll pick them up the next day, or so now I can finally get to some movies.
What are you planning on? What are you planning on pulling up next?
In the morning, like it's very nice. I wanted to watch more Wes Anderson movies just because I was on that stream, but I couldn't find where they are, so I'll have to look and see where they're playing. But I'm interested in looking at watching some old videos that we've talked about that I've never, like, so King Arthur, or the first night.
Oh yeah, man, last night? No,
Last Samurai, first night. Yeah, first night, Last Samurai. So some of those movies, but also trying to get into some movies that are newer. But yeah, so I'm trying to kind of like go through them. I've switched up my whole day, so I do that in the morning, and then I'll go for a run or something in the afternoon.
That's cool. Yeah, the other things that I'm testing out this series called Countdown on Prime. It seems like it's a task force. It's like very modern, fast-paced FBI stuff. And then I also watched The Old Guard 2, which came out over the holiday weekend, and it was okay. I thought I liked the first movie a ton. And I think what I liked more was the concept. It was a cool high concept idea. After rewatching the first one and prepping for the second one, I thought it was slow paced and it felt like a low budget take on how cool the idea could have been. Because these are figures who've been around for like, I don't know, the oldest one has been around for 10,000 years or I don't know, 6,000 years because they basically keep coming back as soon as they die. And I know they're setting it up for a trilogy.
Oh, they are?
Okay. Second movie was like bigger than the first one. But there's some, I don't know, it didn't quite land for me. Again, it's one of those high concept ideas that's not executed in a high concept way. Or a way that it sort of impressed me. You know, a movie that was really fun was like Six Underground. I think it was called. And it's like a super fast-paced heist. Gosh, what's the name of the Deadpool actor is in it?
Ryan
Reynolds. Yep. He's like a super rich guy who tries to be Batman and pull together a team of people, and they all go on some sort of big heist, and it's semi-hilarious, and it's fast-paced, and it's like high budget, and I think I remember it being pretty awesome. And I think that Old Guard feels like it should be that kind of a story if you have characters who are used to dying.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Then diving out of a window from a skyscraper should be pretty normal, you know, if you can just walk away.
Shouldn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, what else? I'm also trying to watch the new season of The Sandman.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I didn't start yet. Did you ever read the comics or the...
I did after I watched the first season to get a sense of what it is.
Yeah, where it started.
I like a lot of elements of it. I think mostly because, once again, I'm pulling out elements from it that I really like to think about.
Yeah.
In and of itself, it's trying to figure out what I think about it. There's moments where it is gorgeously filmed. And it almost seems like you're dealing with, like, there's moments where shots are set up like church window icons, you know, and they're stunning to think about and see. I don't know yet what I think about the series, so I'll sort of wait till I get to the end, I guess. But, what else? Yeah, I think that's mostly it. And I'm also studying Myers-Briggs personality types. So my wife has typed me as an INFP, and I'm doubling down to see how that holds, and it does seem to hold.
Yeah. Any sort of layer of reflection you're looking to uncover, or just another area of, like, what stirred up that?
I need to be a better husband and show up for my family.
So understand yourself.
Yeah, I think that as I'm doing the study, I'm realizing the parts that I'm not balanced in, or the parts that I avoid using. We've got like 4. There's the one that you blindly default to. There's the one you intentionally overuse. And then there's the last 2 that you basically don't like to use because they're hard. I think I'm finding that I have used the bottom 2 a lot with work. And that's why I burn out a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't bring those into my family life.
Gotcha.
And my family needs those too.
Makes sense.
But it feels safer, like in a safe place, like being with family, to just default to my power tools.
Yeah.
And I'm not bringing all of me to home, but I also need to figure out, how do I bring all of me to work? Because I'm avoiding sometimes using the more powerful ones to focus on the bottom ones to get through the day. And that's why working on the magazine was like very fulfilling, because it kind of hits all 4 of them for me. It's like deadline, gotta break it down, be strategic and tactical,
creative. It's all
at
in
the
there.
same time hyper creative. And
that's interesting. I'll have to redo mine. The letters that come, I don't fully remember or know of it, but I think they were like E, N, F, J. Those were what stick out in my mind. Not 100% positive. If you have any online tests that you use that was nice, if you have one, send it over.
Mostly personalities.com.
Okay, so that's what I did too.
Yeah.
And I wonder if I still have it up, but I'll look later.
She absolutely loves typing and understanding. So she just basically typed me and said, here's, what I think. There's also, there's that series, what is it? Love is Blind?
Yes.
Right? And there's one lady she likes to follow on YouTube who breaks down every single person in every single season according to their types.
Wow.
It's like a major scientific study.
Wow.
She's also doing it because it's her job, I think, as a relationship coach. So she's diagnosing why people aren't working, why things initially seem to honeymoon up in their relationship, and then here's why it collapses. Sometimes because they're just awful people. Sometimes it's because they're not maybe feeling safe, or they're not being challenged to lean into their weak elements and bring those up, because the relationship would need those.
Here's an interesting question for you that I just thought of. And what do you think? Because I'm still, in a matter of seconds thinking about it myself. Here's the theory. If everyone was emotionally and personality healthy, so like a healthy version of themselves, is it theoretically possible that any two people could be a good match?
I've wondered about that too. I don't know. Here's what I think. Okay, when you say good match, what do you mean?
I guess that's a good question. In my mind, I'm thinking good match just meaning they can be happy together for a very long time.
I have a working theory, suspicion. If you are, irrespective of the Myers-Briggs methodology, if you're an enlightened, awakened, mature, responsible human being, you will be able to build that kind of relationship with any human being.
That's what.
Now, the question is, now, if you both are, then I think it might be possible to have an easier time of it. But if you're both like balanced and mature and discerning and all of this, then I have a suspicion that anybody could.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to have that shot down.
That's what it's tough because I think my theory is that any two people, if mature, healthy, take out all the weeds that would naturally disrupt a relationship, they could be compatible. I think it then just comes down to, then it's just a series of preferences, but then it becomes almost like, well, what's the preference if it's a fully whole human? I think then it would select down to like attraction, I guess. I don't know. It's not really like anything big. It's just like the theory that it's challenging the concept of soulmate, challenging the concept of, because if the concept of soulmate is applicable, then there's only one or few individuals who you would truly match with and be able to have a happy relationship with. But if that's broken down and you just said anybody who's healthy and can mutually give and take, well, then it's like the door is open to anybody.
I think two thoughts come to mind. One is like, what is a healthy person? I think is not just somebody who's got it all figured out, but it's somebody who is capable of adapting repeatedly to changing situations, to changing other people. You're not showing up addicted to yourself and defensive about yourself. Those are immediate markers of personal spiritual immaturity.
Yeah.
When you're like defensive, everybody, it's been about 2 hours since I was defensive. Yeah. And then addicted to yourself. I think that's kind of the point of being alive, is to learn to overcome that, learn to be a free human being who can learn how to love without being addicted. I'm just thinking like, kicking the tires on this for the first time out loud. I think there are personality types that might seriously strain each other.
Yeah.
And you could go, well, that's like putting two very powerful people in the ring together. There's the chance that if they're like, it's like, the point of a wedding ring is two hands grabbing onto each other. And the harder you hold on to each other, the stronger that bond then becomes, allowing you to like sort of pull off and kind of do whatever you want, knowing that as a human being, as a person, somebody else is committing to practice a specific spiritual discipline of 100% unconditional love. I think that is the point of marriage. It's not the point. Yes, it's for kids, but the point of marriage, like at all, is like it. To sort of maybe say this badly, something like this: if God and the gods commit to us with 100% unconditional love, which is the same thing, unconditional love, like no matter what you get up to, what you say, what you do, you are in and of yourself infinitely valuable and deserving of love. And you're going to get up to a crap ton of stupid. That doesn't negate the fact that you in and of yourself are on a journey and you are valid and valuable, worth abandoning the 99 to go rescue. Right.
Yep.
So this thing that marriage is walking up to another human being and going, I'm committing, like a monastic discipline, I am committing to show you, and there maybe I will start learning it myself. I'm going to show you unconditional love for the duration of your life. It doesn't matter what you get up to. Now, there is a little bit of realism here. Broken situation, broken people. There's points at which it just doesn't, you can't hold the line anymore. It doesn't work. And so the practice falls apart and so on. But the point, the ideal of the marriage is to go, doesn't matter what you say or do or get up to. This is the ultimate good that I can practice with my being is committing an unconditional love to you. And then it's like an experiment. What happens? Who do I become when I practice that? Who do I become when I receive that? What kind of decisions do I make in life? Who do you become when I get to show up for you this way? From that standpoint, there's a point at which I'm thinking, yeah, this marriage could be between anybody, which is why in the old world, it was not based on merely romantic relationships. It was like arranged, organized marriages, and they would try to fit people together. Sometimes it was power structures. But if you watch movies like, there's that Indian, I think it was 2 seasons called...
Indian Matchmaker?
I think that's what it's called, Arranged Marriages with Seema Auntie.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So that same sense of like, well, we're trying to fit people who are going to, connect the best together, and then it's up to them. But ultimately, accept the 70% because perfect romantic, compatibility is. I think that it's. I'm afraid I'm getting lost in my ideas here. We get perfect romantic compatibility and like soulmates, like we're talking about. I think is a cop-out. It's a cop-out idea because we feel that for something to be perfect, it's not going to hurt or challenge me to grow at all.
Yep. Well,
that's not what a sacrament, which is what marriage does.
And it kind of feeds off the idea or yearning for always wanting something better. Because if the soulmate theories enact, then you're like, well, soulmates is ultimate connection, no severance, no friction. So the moment you have friction, like, this must not be my soulmate, or something is lacking where there should be this always connection, which is just not real life.
Yeah. And I have, it's funny sometimes when you listen to romantic songs. So, and I put this in a little context where I'm coming from. We used to have, how would you say, an orientation of ourselves towards ultimate highest goods. Things like God, right? And I'll throw in concepts like divine masculine, divine feminine. And we embody the divine masculine, women embody the divine feminine. We are aspects of it, and therefore we're attracted to each other. Well, it becomes a problem when you sort of get rid of those transcendent ideas that exist alongside, behind of who we are, that sort of radiate out through the presence that we are. If you get rid of that and you're just bacteria living on a rock in black nothingness and sort of, nothing really matters. Well, then something happens to us and we look at women and expect that we pedestal them. We expect that they are the divine feminine as opposed to her handmaid, right? An imperfect handmaid. Same thing with us. Women can over-idealize men and assume that we are the divine masculine, and then get to a point where you just burn out from just dealing with each other because nobody's perfect. And if it was, people would just get their act together and I could be supremely happy and they could fulfill my needs. Well, it's funny now listening to so many romantic songs, probably before the last 20, 30 years, I guess, but in the 60s and the 50s and stuff, that's my jam. The language is almost religious in its reverence and its veneration for if you were to swap out the Blessed Virgin Mary, right, or God or Christ as the subject of who the person is singing, is this is almost medieval religious song. So there's a point at which taking that level of expectation, you complete me, you satisfy me, I'm completely crushed and emptied when you're not around without you. And it's well, okay, I understand that up to a point. But to put that pressure on another human being is impossible and awful. As opposed to we both reflect something that we ultimately desire. We reflect that. We mirror that to each other. We prismate it. What's the word? A prism sort of radiates something or splits.
I like prismate, whether it's right
prismate,
or right.
I think it's a word. It's like you're looking through at the thing that your soul desires, and you just allow each other to be human beings. And the point is to be if I 100% commit to loving you unconditionally, because maybe nobody else in your life has done this, you've never experienced it, you've never practiced it, we're going to separate from the rest of the human community. We're going to sit down and practice unconditional love to each other, right? Think of like two gurus right?
Yeah.
Stepping aside from the rest of their relationships and going, okay, you and me, we're just practicing this relationship. What happens after 50 years, 60 years, a lifetime? What if we spend a lifetime just practicing this one? We'll still have all of our other relationships.
Yeah.
But you and me are going, because there's a dyad, there's an exclusivity to that relationship. Why? This is because it's mirrored with how God relates to us as an individual. We're practicing with him that relationship. And so to then practice that at the level of the human family can only be done in an unconditional, exclusive relationship, which is why monogamy, for all of it, the flaws of how it's been practiced. This is the core idea why it's now been elevated to the level of a sacrament, and why things like the church, and whatever that means to different Christians, simply ratifies it, doesn't give it to us. Like, this is ours, as just average humans.
You made me think, if I could kind of take this and kind of turn
totally.
But is the concept of the prism, and it made me think I could go back to this movie that I watched, the story of Henry Sugar, whatever, this guru. So one of the things he did to get to that point of, he was able to levitate also, like 18 inches off the ground. What he would do to practice, he would light a candle and stare at the black at the base of the candle, right beneath the flame, and intensely stare at it. First,
I read this book years ago.
So this concept is like, you zero in all of your focus, so all of your mental energy, your physical energy, everything is zeroed in into one point. This black dot of the candle and you start with 5 minutes, then you start with 10, and he did it so in the story, it's funny, he did this practice little bit by little for a year and a half every day, then 3 years, to the point where he could finally see something. He could recognize a card. This is another guy. And he could recognize what was on the other side of the card in 30 seconds. Then he practiced more and more and more. He practiced so long on this one specific task until he could finally recognize what the card was in 5 seconds, which is what he needed to do to play blackjack smoothly. But the whole concept of thinking, like, in life, I was like, if it's amazing what people can do when they just zero in their efforts. I was thinking about, you said for a person, but like also why people can do incredible things, like, artists or musicians, like they zero in all their energies into one thing. I was thinking about my own life. I think, so going back to the personalities, something we were just talking about this weekend, we were saying how, like, we were doing hot takes with the family, like, and it's all coming together, I think, to a point. We were doing hot takes as a family, like, hey, who has a hot take? And, it was funny, like, I kept like saying stuff and everybody's like, well, yeah, that's generally agreed upon. I'm like, okay. And I
was late to the party.
Well, I think like, deep within, let's
get to that. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. The whole point was that, like, my person, I'm so hyper neutral in so many things that, like, the joke was that whenever we played a video game,
the salt on the left of the pepper.
Yeah, they're like, okay, no one really cared. Either no one cared or everyone's already doing it. That's what it was. Like, when we played a video game,
paper goes the other way.
Yeah, we played a video game, I would play as like Mario, or like the character that's neutral across all boards, not high in speed, not high in strength. And so going back to the point of the prism and the focus, I feel like I'm so neutral. And the point of, like, so I like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Like, I like to go outside, but I like also to write. I like to play video games. I like a little of this. It's not a single focus. So deep down in me, I would love it if I had this one thing I just poured into and like excelled at. But then I always be like, well, if I pour like a guitar, like I was learning guitar, but then I was like, well, I also like playing, what I was doing, carving. So I started a little carving, and then, well, I also like a little farming. So I started a little garden. And I think, so I don't know, kind of like the throw off for all this whole concept is that, one, where are you in that? Are you kind of more, can you zero in on things? Are you all so scattered? Or two, can you find yourself zero in on something? And what can we do if you actually, can you imagine like what we could do if we actually zeroed in on one thing, like one project? And I don't know. And I guess the second part of that thought and discussion point is like, how do you zero in if you're a mind that tends to be scattered? I think of, like, do you ever see like the death ray? It's like the glass that when it's focused on the sun, it can like light rock on fire. I always think of that. Like, if it's not angled correctly, it just casts a warm glow. But if it's angled just the right way, it could like literally melt rock. I don't know. It's something that I've been working on. In this morning, went for a little walk, thinking, how can I like zero in the efforts? And then the thing that I get hung up on is, okay, well, let's say we go all in on playing guitar. What if I don't like it? then it's like that kind of holds me back. Like, why don't we just, well, no, don't put all the eggs in one basket. Let's kind of scatter it about. So I don't know. That was my rapid fire scatterbrain thoughts this morning.
How
of like,
are you making sense of it? Like, what is making sense so far?
I've been just I like rapid fire go through things with all effort. So I'll put all effort in guitar for 30 minutes, no, for like, 30 days, and then I'll move on to the next thing. It's not a good approach. It's just the approach I'm doing.
Why do you say it's not a good one?
Well, because I guess it's not good in the fact that I think I haven't found the thing, but maybe that's just, there isn't a thing to find.
How do you know until you've done 100 things?
That's true. I guess I'm at the point where I'm like, pause. Is this a good strategy? Or is it just, and I'm in the middle of the experiment, I have to see it through? Or is it like, do I have to change the experiment? I don't know. I'm not at the point of answering. I'm at the point of questioning, and I'm like, okay, let's pause. Like, where are we good at? And I think I have just like a vast array of likes, and which is fine overall.
How will you know when you get there?
I don't know. My thought is I guess I'm chasing a feeling that like, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't had that yet. I've had little glimpses of it. Like, I'll find something that's really interesting to me, and I'm like, this is cool. But I haven't felt like this is it, where I go hog wild, all in. Mm-hmm. I'm very like, impressed by people who could do that.
Do you know anybody in your life who is interested in everything and is maybe kind of scattered?
Yeah, my family. My family.
Your whole family?
I come from that kind of cloth where my dad's a very interested person in things. My brothers equally. So I don't think I have like a framework to go off of what that looks like when somebody's just all in. I know somebody that, I went to school with somebody who's fishing. It was all fishing. Everything, life is weekends, nights, daytime talk, everything. I mean, he had a job, but everything was fishing. To a point where it was like,
that would become insufferable.
So that's what I mean. Like, to one side, that's crazy to me, but at the same time, it's like, wow, like everything is channeled into this one thing, though, and like all his spare money, he doesn't spend it on anything else but fishing stuff. And again, like, for me, not what I would like, but at the same time, like, that's interesting, because all the efforts are focused in and used towards something that you enjoy and that give you life. I guess. I don't know. And maybe that's to a detriment. I don't know.
It partly comes down to personality type.
And then maybe that's it. Yeah. Maybe that's just not in my DNA, so to speak, to have that. But it's interesting that here's the question. If my personality type and makeup is to be overall universal, neutral, see everything, why is there then a desire to focus if my personality type is to be scattered? You know what I mean? Like, shouldn't it be aligned? Or it's just interesting.
Yeah, I don't have an answer. Just walking around this, thinking about this maybe from, I don't know, let's say an evolutionary standpoint, which kind of means nothing, because I believe in sacred evolution, which is but guided and intentional and whatever. Yeah. But if you were to imagine, thinking partly of like children in a community, but just the general community. If you had a community of people, it's like a tribe, a village, and it's the sort of normal default, if you're not lazy, to specialize in one thing and get good at one thing, because that's how you best serve the community. It's how you find your identity. Yeah. You need some percentage to be kind of like a bee or kind of like a butterfly, to be able to flit across multiple ideas, to be able to kind of like find the nectar across multiple different plants, whereas all the other bees are going to like the one plant, because this is how you make the honey and you keep the hive full. You will need some percentage of perhaps the hive or the tribe to be able to be constantly exploring. And you're like, what's being animated here? It's like, well, I'm looking for honey and I'm looking for a specific kind and I'm never satisfied. But it's because of the constant exploring that I'm doing, I'm able to keep seeing more of the world. And maybe it would be nice to be able to like double down on a thing. But then a point comes where the sort of, this is the thing about life as this primal reality that underlies everything, that emerges like through everything. It's the thing, you don't see life. You see things that are alive, that have life in it. And life just does it refuses to be caged in. And it's constantly, we started watching like Harry Potter last night with my little girl.
Oh, fun. Oh, cool.
And this sense of he's stuck in this awful, drab, dry, meaningless, painful little world. And then he's invited, it's like life, he has a calling in life and it's not being met. And so life is like trying to hit at him, like the owls delivering letters and the eggs opening up and there's like notes inside and they're bursting down through the ceiling. They're coming in the front door. And even when they go like Jonah to the furthest conceivable place, this big, hairy Mary Poppins comes in through the door, and it's like, I'm carrying you away. There's a point at which you can't run away from what life is, when life is calling you to something, and then you go into life, and he ends up going to Hogwarts, right? And the whole experience, the journey there, we got about an hour in maybe, and it's just struck me, this is like going Dorothy from sepia-toned Kansas into full-color Wonderland. What was the world called? Oz.
Yeah.
And he comes into that same sort of experience, right? Where I'm going with this is the sense that it could be that there is the one thing that you're looking for, or it could be this kind of an awful, it's like a good sort of pain of like never being able to find the thing because you're being pulled by like a magnet.
Yeah.
Through all of the different presentations that prismate that thing.
Yeah.
It's on the other side, the people who can never finish fishing, all they can think about, they're pulled by a similar agony, a similar sort of painful, sort of joyful thing, which is I can never finish. Well, and that's all I want to do is never. And you're like, I don't ever want to finish. I just want to keep starting, because we're always seeking and hunting that.
Yeah.
Good that fulfills our being. And I think you and I do it in a different way than most other people.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the biggest kind of themes I wrote in my book with the central characters. So you have the thing that you're doing that provides for you. You have the thing that you deeply desire, and you have the thing that the world needs from you, we'll say, or like the universe or your life or God. So like it's just this triad of like needs and wants. And I think that's like, I feel like I'm always on that journey. It's like, where do those all come together? Or do they all come together? It's like, so what I do that provides, what I do that I want, what I do that the world needs from me, how can I make all those harmonious? And I feel like a lot of times they're not harmonious. They're three different things. There's a thing that provides for my family and that I do. There's a thing that I want to do. And there's a thing that I think that I'm called to do, or that. So it's like this constant push pull. Yeah. And I think that's why like I wrote that the way I did is this guy who feels that way, that he's doing the thing that he's providing. He has this deep yearning, and then at the end he gets pulled in a different way. But at the end they kind of all sync up in a way.
Well, think also then of the advantage. Like, let's say you do what you're doing. You go on this experiment, right? I used to love the character Chet in the Hardy Boys.
Okay.
As every single book, he was doing something different, something new. The Hardy Boys were just detectives, and that was it. Dating the same girls, and they were all going on different, going through adventures and whatever. Chet was insanely interesting a character to me because he was always doing something. It was either mail order, assembly kits, or it was rock collecting, or I can't even remember, just trying baking and stuff, or trying to lose weight. And I love the character. I think most people never even do anything. And it used to be that people like what you and I are, these generalists, the people who like know a little bit about everything and sometimes know like an inappropriate amount about something completely random. These people used to be superheroes of like medieval culture, Renaissance culture. They were called Renaissance men because they knew a bit about everything. So think of the advantage of, let's say you spend 30 days on an instrument, 30 days piece of art, 30 days learning about how sawmills grind wood for like whatever. First of all, your ability, or the ability of that kind of person, to connect with a ton of different people. Think of the learning, even though it's a small amount, think of the learning transfer that can now happen between these people have done this in this way forever. Well, if you take this and you apply it over here, this can maybe be done better or different, or a way that better fits the life situation where we are now. It's that state of always being most adaptable. I do think is like the optimal human situation. The more information you have coming in, the wider your variety of diet, the more resilient you are to handle when life, when stuff comes at you.
It changes,
the problem with being a specialist and only a specialist is like, if you ever lose that, people like that die.
Yeah.
You have a very, very hard time finding a new dream. Whereas
that's true.
you and I can come up with 3 on Saturday.
Chameleon, yeah, it's true. More than 3. Yeah. I like that. That seems to be a good navigational approach moving forward.
Think of the benefit then for your kids too, right? You're not only the dad who has a little bit of interest in like all kinds of things.
Yeah.
That means you're sort of also showing to them the world is full of interesting things.
That's
as
true.
opposed to being a fantastic bricklayer who cares nothing for everything else that interests humans. So someone who's like that could be a very good teacher because you're able to show another person there is a lot to love. And then you can pick one and I can sort of help. I am not interested in becoming a virtuoso violinist, but I know enough to know I begin to see why people love this as a life path.
I can see that.
And you might be able to connect people to that.
It has helped too, especially, and maybe that's just, I haven't seen the fullness of it because we have 5 kids and I've already seen like, the oldest 3 have 3 different likes, 3 different, and I'm able to connect with them in different ways. So I guess you never know until life keeps going. Like, oh, that makes more sense why I'm all over the place because it fits my needs. But if you want to, I'm the back of my mind, I've been thinking about the thing you wanted to do in the beginning, which is look at our YouTube and see what. Yeah. So what do you do?
Okay,
you look at.
For those who don't know, I just had this random idea. Thought sometimes I have no idea what we're going to talk about on this show. So I'm not going to look yet. You can start. Here's the idea. Conversation starter.
I'll enter
as a
when
way
you tell
to
me.
break us out of any existing patterns that we're already talking about. It's like you pull up your YouTube channel, you go start from the top left, count 3 across, whatever that third video is, see if that creates an interesting conversation.
All right.
I've opened my tab. I won't look at it yet. What do you have?
I just hit enter. So, top up 1.
Third from the left.
2, 3. Gosh. Could it be anything but that one? Okay, no, that's at the bottom. Or the top. All right.
So what do you?
All right, hang on. It was an ad. So if I refresh, okay. So the third one is On the Road Again, a Goofy movie, 30th anniversary with Bill Farmer and Jason Marsden from Disney. I think I know why.
Have you seen this? Know anything about it?
No, I think I know why. I'm just looking at the front cover, and I was looking up. I've been looking up a lot of like voice actors recently.
Okay.
And I think this guy looks like the voice actor for like Mario and a bunch of other, old. So that kind of taps into a little niche interest of mine is voice actors, anime, cartoons. So that's what that is. I have not seen that movie. I've never heard of it, but it came out 2 months ago from Disney. That's pretty cool.
So be On the Road Again, is that like a movie or do you like getting on the road?
No, so this must just be because I've looked up voice actors and Goofy, and this is. Do you remember? Did you ever watch the Goofy movie? It's a 30 years.
The first 10 minutes.
30 years ago.
All. Yeah,
it was we really liked it as a family, and I've watched it recently. So
I think my wife loves it. I've never watched it. So what do you like about it?
Well, I always liked Goofy and Mickey, and we had my wife. My mom had a daycare. And she had all VHS of all Disney movies. And so we watched them over and over and over again. And so we loved like Fun and Fancy Free and anything. Oh, yeah. So, and the Goofy movie was one of them. And I don't know why I thought it was hilarious. I would rewind it over and over. I'm surprised those tapes would still like work. How many times I rewind it. Oh, that's interesting. I actually might check that out. It's a real life. So it looks like, so the movie, 30 years ago was a cartoon. This is now a real life movie with these guys. Yeah. I don't know how that's going to come together, but.
So that then makes me think about like you're traveling to Australia. Like if you're born in the United States, why did you end up going to, what was it about Hillsong as opposed to any other community that might be here in the United States?
That one, well, I had found out about Hillsong through the music. They had, their music is very popular. And in New York City, they had started a Hillsong church, which was very like edgy, cool. Like it was showing like Christianity is cool. Like the pastors wore like, leather jackets, and it's like, this is like top notch. So like the appeal of it really came through the music and the culture. And then deep down, I always wanted to go to Australia. I just always, when I saw the Sydney Opera House, like on TV once, just always thought it'd be really cool to go there. So always wanted to. So it was like those two kind of synced up. I'm like, that's the way to go. Let's go across. And we had a nice little, piggy bank to get there from the wedding. So that was
what was the most For you, Australian thing that you did while you were down there.
We did go to the Blue Mountains, which was very fun. But I think the most Australian thing was going to Manly Beach, taking the ferry from Sydney to Manly Beach and just walking around like that beach island town thing, not island,
Okay.
and just chilling by the ocean, I think was the most. We also had a Barbie, barbecue at a park, which was very fun, with a bunch of Aussies. That was probably the one most, and also just taking the subway a lot. I don't know, that seemed like very city life Aussie like.
Mm-hmm.
I did like. There's one thing that the scene that I like the most, which always makes me want to go back. We were at a grocery store, and a guy walks in, no shoes, no shirt, just came off the beach, and just like, and no one like batted an eye. Was like, just no. I'm like, yeah, I like this. Just that like laid backness. At least in that part. I don't know if that's overall, but
yeah. It's funny talking about that. There's a place near Perth called Rottnest Island because when they got there, they saw these they look like massive rats everywhere. And they had these big nests like all over the place. They called Rat's Nest and it became Rottnest Island. The thing is that they're called Quokkas. And if you ever Googled them, a Quokka has the cutest, most smiley, it's like the happiest animal on the planet. It's the cutest thing ever. They all look like they're smiling as they look up at you.
They do, yeah.
Everybody feeds them. They're so tame. They come in, they walk out of everywhere and eat it out of your hand and stuff like that. But it's like with every animal, there's always one, like, it's like 90% wonderful, 10% weird. And I think I remember if these things are ever in danger, or their kids are ever in danger, like there's no mama bear stuff like, getting in between me and my children. Like, no, they'll throw their babies at you and then they will run.
Take it. And they smile.
Smiling as they wave.
How do they smile?
Just the mouth's curved that way. It is so funny / weird. So we've learned that dogs have learned to mimic human micro interactions.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So wolves, for example, they can't. Actually, wolves can't even make most of the sounds that house dogs can't. I saw footage of like somebody who's domesticated a wolf, and the wolf is staring at him with like massive, like big long snout, and it's trying to like communicate the way the Rottweiler can, and it's going. That's all it can do. Whereas the Rottweiler can like keen and howl and huff and actually bork sounds and whatever, and wolves can't even do that. And
that's so
it's like no facial movement for like a wild dog, whereas an actual dog's eyebrows will actually move. They can actually smile, mimicking like, humans do this thing with their mouths when they're happy with me. I can do this back too.
Yeah.
For the longest time, we used to think that you grab our corgi and like bury your face in its head and go, right? Stuff like that. And he used to growl back to us all the time.
Yeah.
After about a year, my wife suddenly realized, wait, no, he's mimicking the sound back to us.
See, I can do it too.
Yeah. Gosh, it's like weird. It's just weird and cute.
It is. Yeah. What's your third?
All right, here we go. Let's refresh. Okay, I got a music album.
Oh.
Looks like an AI generated music album. Oh, hold on, this is not even my personal account.
Is it Sunset? It's funny. I wanted to talk about an AI musician.
Okay, so here's what I got. Third one on the right was music for reading or writing fantasy, the beginning of an adventure.
Anything good?
I don't know. So there you go. I've just said what it is. What questions come up in your mind?
Do you listen to music a lot on YouTube?
I guess I do. Like, actually, the top 3. Second one is about universalism. The first and third are...
there we go. Now we're getting...
First and third are music videos. I check out a lot of music videos.
Yes, I do like music videos.
Some of them are awesome. And what is it? The artwork is usually, it's generated and it's usually beautiful, and they add nice little sparkles and just runs in the background for 2 hours or something. And sometimes it's original music and sometimes it's generated, and it can be just really pretty. And so I like to check it out.
That's cool. I was wondering, when you said the AI music, and have you heard about this thing that's going on? It's like this indie band that's kind of blowing up on Spotify.
Boy band that doesn't exist. Yeah, I saw the headlines.
The Velvet Sundown. So is it confirmed that they're? I mean, they look like it is AI. Is it confirmed that they are or not?
I don't know. I just saw the headline for it, and they've racked up like apparently 1 million or a couple 100,000. I don't know. A lot of
even more.
Plays
they're
and
like 500,000 listens in like a month, which is interesting. So I was watching one guy talk about it, and I want to know your thoughts too. He was saying it was a music producer, and he was kind of showing like how he can like detect if it's AI or not. He showed like his program software, like how he can, if it's a real, you could split the tracks nicely. If it's not, it gets kind of muddled and there's artifacts in it. And so he did it. He's like, this is most likely, or they just use, or he goes, or it's somebody that uses a lot of AI to develop their music. He goes, now the question though now is how, because they were making money on Spotify. They make, how do they get paid? How should they get paid? He's like, and he even said, which I thought was interesting, because he goes, a lot of people just say, they don't deserve anything at all, right? It's like music producers, artists, they don't deserve anything, blah, stealing. He goes, but they still are creating something.
Yeah.
He goes, I think there should be a percentage of how much they get versus the full. He goes, I don't know. It was very kind of like he was just throwing out ideas. I thought it was interesting. Like, I don't know what I think of it. Here's my neutral personality that doesn't take a side, but it's that if I was doing that, it's a good like creative project. I'm making good music. People enjoy it.
Yeah.
What's the problem? However, I get that I don't fully understand that prompting is taking off of something somewhere. I don't know what to make of it. And again, we don't have to open up a whole AI conversation, but that's just the thing that came up recently.
Well, along sort of similar lines, I learned about a phrase over the weekend because I'd heard about vibe coding, right, which I tried a couple of times, where you basically chat with some AI and it goes and applies the code for you and it creates the app for you. And so it's a way to democratize anybody's ability to get in to create tools and software that could be helpful or fun or dumb. Right? But it democratizes ability. And so I thought, I wonder if vibe writing is a thing. Not saying I like it, but it's just an interesting idea.
Yeah.
So I Googled it, and apparently it's already becoming a thing. It's for people who are not writers, who will never have the chance to develop actual writing skills, but they still have ideas they want to share.
Ideas, yeah.
Maybe again, I'm agnostic towards it so far, an ability for somebody to use a tool to apply a skill that they themselves have not learned so that they can make income off of it. And then the market decides whether they deserve the income or not, whether they've earned it or not. I mean, that's kind of like bringing a chainsaw to an ice pick convention.
Yeah.
It's like, just don't enter into the contest, but is it a valid form of ice carving?
Sure.
Or a mold, and then, or 3D printing as opposed to carving. It's like, well, you're not learning the skill, but you are having the skill applied through a tool so that you can make income in a different way, and the market sort of rewards that or ignores you. I mean, how many artists out there are straight up ignored because they're not that good?
Yeah.
How many people are trying to sort of cheat the system and not learn skill and, create spam or try to, create good stuff, and they're still not that good. The market doesn't care. All of that to say, I think the same thing can happen with music. I like playing around with Suno, which is a music generator. I created an album of like 33 tracks of music for the legend fiction community. Some of it is like really cool and stuff. And I'm not going to put it on Spotify. I don't want to make money off of it, but it's cool that it exists. But as much as I played the flute for 12 years, I played the violin for 3 years, 2 years. I sang basically my whole life and been in choirs. So to be able to take a tool, and it's kind of like vibe music creating, to then have orchestral outputs. And I think the difference would be, I know for me, it's not an orchestral piece of music. But then 20 years ago, 10 years ago, people probably, like musicians, were getting, I guess, mad at pre-recorded synth music or pre-recorded instruments, and then one producer could like affect an entire orchestra. For and someone's like, "Well, you're putting orchestras out of business," and I don't exactly know where this goes. I can understand the arguments, which is like the problem is we now have a tool that can do billions of iterations.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not convinced that it's a zero-sum game. I think that one of the reasons why tools like this continue to be created is because demand is constantly exceeding the ability to supply it. Like the amount of demand for perhaps art out there so far exceeds the amount of artists who are available.
Yeah.
And the number of artists who stay, the ones who are good, who have the time to create the amount of art, but then it's a bit of a messy situation too, where people they want maybe the art, but they don't have enough money to. And I don't know. There's pieces in this conversation that like also have to be on the table, such as we're also playing a specific type of capitalist game, which is if you can do something and nobody can stop you,
Yeah.
well, then do it.
Do
and
it.
that's
Yeah.
is the board game that most of us are playing on. It's like if you're going to play on this set of rules, you can't complain if somebody brings a chainsaw to the ice pick fight if it's not in the rules.
If it's not in the rules, then not to. Yeah.
Not fight. I didn't mean fight.
No.
Competition would be bad.
Yeah.
So maybe we should be talking about the rules.
Yeah, the parameters.
And there are some people who want to get off the board completely. But those are different conversations. So
correct.
I don't have an answer. But what I am not convinced about is that, I don't know, a lot of the arguments that are out there just don't convince me about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of that is helpful to you.
No, I mean, it's just discussing it. I think that's where I kind of falls. Like, okay, just put the parameters down that need to be put down. I think that's the problem, that it's so early, still too early to even know what the parameters should be, like when it comes to music and money and how do you do that. But yeah.
Well, I think what's happened is, even right now, I think it's going to continue happening into the future. Generated stuff is going to be the same way that stuff was carbon copied and photocopied, and then like when a music album would drop and then it was pirated because it was so easy to do that online. It's just a download to clone something infinitely. Well, I could also see an advantage where if you pair like generative stuff with crypto or with the blockchain, where you're generating copies of things that are slightly different or tailored for a specific person, and then it's secured to that person, right? I don't know where that goes, but it's like, oh, that's an interesting way to handle one product being paired to one person, you know. That's a whole nother conversation. I didn't mean to go down that route, but darn, I forgot where I was trying to go. I think it had to do with actual orchestras. I saw a footage of some guy who just sits there and he creates, you know, with his computer, this wonderful, beautiful soundtracks and trailer music and stuff like that. And then he hired, I guess, or paid for, or whatever, an actual orchestra played the kickoff score for his album. And then that was filmed and so on. And then it's like, so it's produced live. I think the cool thing is going to continue to happen, which is real, actual art is going to continue to be the one thing you can't commodify. Or when I say real, actual art, I mean art that is done by a skilled artist is now a luxury commodity. And the more AI continues to be generated, actual artists are going to continue to become more and more valuable. And I think we already saw this happening in culture. And again, it's a messy conversation, but I think the big difference for me, to come back and answer your question, is I think that generated content should be treated differently to original, actual, you know, created stuff.
I agree.
And we should not be pretending that they're the same thing. It does not feel obvious to me that if I generate artwork, I can't step up and go, hey, everybody, I'm an artist. I am of equal standing with Michelangelo. No, I think that is patently untrue.
I agree.
In the same sense that somebody who 3D prints something is not a carver, whatever, compared to somebody who can actually sculpt in limestone. You can't, they're not unequal. They're just totally different.
They're just different.
Except that they're different. Allow them to meet different market needs.
And that's why we just don't have enough terms for it, because like both creative, both creating, but there's got to be the artist category now needs to be refined to encapsulate the different mediums.
Right. And then on the positive side, we've now created an ability or a tool to allow people who will never be able to learn a skill to finally be able to also sort of step up and create conceptual creative stuff.
That's true. And
that
show
allow them to enter into the human conversation that they would never have had before. It would have been still could have just totally locked up inside of them. So I like that is now a thing that is possible. For people.
Very true.
So, well, there you go. So that we ended up getting something out of that. So,
let's keep poking
shout out
that bear.
To our delightful fans. We've been kicking around an idea of getting a merch store together, and so I was generating some fun logos over the weekend of like, you know, hunter-blatherer stuff with like deer antlers and whatever.
I think that's better. I was thinking like what our, you know, listeners or fans or community would be called, and you can't be, you know, they're not the Dom and Gabers. That's weird. So like the hunter-blatherers or something like that would be more like I was saying, if I was a listener myself, like I would have been called a Dahmer or a Gaber. So
Yeah.
So hunter-blatherer might be up there in the ranks.
I think it should. So, friends, if you agree, go ahead and say hi in the comments. I mean, I want that tee. I want the hat. I want the mug.
True.
That'd be fun. Do a collection of those. So, yeah, and if you got any other ideas that come to mind, we'd love to hear them. So, friends, if you're watching anything, say hi in the comments. Let us know. We can try giving it a watch. Shout outs to Gabby and to EJ. I forget his first name.
Ethan. Such a cool dude.
Fun to have you along on the journey, friends. So, here's to another crazy week with more coffee, and I don't know, we'll think of new random stuff to talk about next week.
Sounds good. See you guys.